Hey everyone, I'm Johnny Chin with Orange DAO. We're going to kick us off with some introductions. So let's go from, is it left to right?
All right, hello, it's a pleasure being here with you. My name is Adam Zasada. I come from Warsaw, Poland, and I'm running 0x KYC, on-chain identity and uniqueness verification service.
Hey, Muhammed Tanrikulu. So I also come from Warsaw, but we didn't come together, of course. So I'm working in ENS. I'm a full stack developer and doing pretty much everything in ENS. So basically the protocol, the governance, infrastructure, pretty much everything.
Hi everyone, I'm Carlos Garcia. I'm based in Barcelona and I'm the technical sales for Polygon ID in Europe.
Hello, I'm Geeny. I work with Filand as growth and strategy. Filand is basically an on-chain quest protocol which tells you what kind of an on-chain user you are, basically. And glad to be here.
You are the boss. You are the boss.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This one works.
All right, so on-chain identity is a topic that we could talk about for days on days on days, a lot of rabbit holes. But I think it'd be important for us to first define it. So I don't want to go down and have everyone say near the same thing, but maybe a few of you can say what it is for the audience who might not be as in-depth on the subject as you are. And then for the rest of you, in order to not add on top of the same subject matter, you can say why you are passionate about building in the field of on-chain identity. Sound good?
Sure. I guess I'm pitching this to VCs a lot, so I have a good understanding of what people think digital identity might be, because there's a lot of misconception. And I would broadly differentiate decentralized identity into two categories. So on one side, you have digital identity wallets. Think of it like I am scanning my identity document. It is stored somewhere in a decentralized way, and I can reuse it for different services. And each time I reuse it, I have to give my consent, give my data to company X, or give my data to company or protocol Y. So this is the permissioned identity wallet. This is one type. And the other type is purely on-chain, permissionless, much like most of us here work on. Well, actually, we work on both sides of this. It's because Polygon ID is more like the identity wallet, but it's more robust, really has many more use cases. And ENS available permissionlessly, also additional features. And then Filand is working on top of that, building that fun engagement layer, I believe.
So what should I do? Just not tell the same thing, but...
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good overview of on-chain identity. If there's anything you want to add on top of that, just assume someone is at a 5-year-old level in terms of what on-chain identity is.
Sure. So yeah, basically the identity is a really broad topic. So like we have many things that we can call identity. So the reputation is one thing, the pseudo identity is one thing, and our real identities are another thing. So it's really broad topic. And because of that, actually, like what ENS does in the ecosystem is just creating a specification, so you can name pretty much everything with the current infrastructure and the layer. And we are trying to create that layer so you can use it for any of these approaches, basically.
Yes, for me, a step before, the why for the on-chain identity means freedom and means a lot of things. And then I think that actually we are living with several things that doesn't work properly, but we are accustomed to that in terms of user experience, in terms of security and so on. And then another kind of identity it's necessary, digital identity. And in our case, in the case of Polygon ID, we are leveraging the capacities of the blockchain to make this move forward and to create. Actually, we built a Polygon ID toolset. We are not a wallet. We are an infrastructure layer that allows the different projects to build a self-sovereign identity framework. It means that the next identity generation. Then for me, the why, the answer is it's the next steps in terms of digital identity.
I want to talk about our own project, Filand, a little bit, because it's different than most of the. We're not an ID protocol. We just have this score system based on the different actions a user performs on chain. So we're actually, since most of the traditional concepts of identity don't work in Web3, we're trying to find new ways of how people can reflect their identity, and that's basically playing around different protocols, seeing what people do on-chain, and if they're interested in reflecting their on-chain identities. It's like traditional ID is more like where you were born, who you are, is like more governmental, let's say, but what we're trying to do is find ways to see how people actually want to reflect themselves. So it's more personalized, I guess, and giving people room to create this concept themselves, basically.
I can just speak loud. How do we balance privacy and transparency in the world of on-chain identities?
I guess that's a very difficult question. Any takers? In our case, we have a roadmap for decentralization. We're currently partnering with one of the biggest fintech companies on FIDA, which stores our flagship product called Sunscreen. Is basically, we scan your face. This can be to access an airdrop, to play a Web3 game. Usually it's at the payout stage, so you play the game, and then to verify if you don't have two accounts, you go through 0x KYC, or rather how we call it now, Sunscreen. So you just show your face. The picture is stored with FIDA, fintech provider, and we can, on our backend, tell if we've seen this face, if yes, it's the same identifier as before, and we put that on chain. So I am ABC123, you are CBD456, or whatever, and our clients and on chain, you only see the identifier. But our road is to actually have all of that done on client side, and only the 3D facial vector being stored on our side, much like WorldCoin is doing. So this is our goal, to ensure maximal privacy. But in the end, for us to attest somebody is truly who they claim to be, we need at least this 3D face vector. And there are many other ways to attest it. And I guess I'm going to pass the mic further.
So yeah, I will keep a bit more generalized. So basically in blockchain, or let's say in Ethereum world, like lots of things that we do is like, or like the things that we write based on our identity is transparent. So this raises a huge concern regarding the privacy. If we just approach with, like tell people that, like, okay, this is your profile, write whatever you want, and then you can change later. But yes, you can change it. But then you are creating a history in the blockchain. At this moment, the only approach I know is basically the like using the cryptographic technologies to solve these problems, like the zero knowledge proofs. So you can reveal some of your identity with the companies or the third parties or the projects or the others. And still, I believe that we are so early that with that, and we need more transparent and more understandable standardizations or the technologies around that.
Well, in our point of view, I'm talking in name of Polygon ID, we built a privacy by design toolset. It means that you can use this toolset in your own project, and you are proving who you are through verified credentials, okay? These verifiable credentials in the verification process use a technology, for me it's magic, the zero knowledge technology. This strange work, okay, helps to the holder, to the identity, to prove something to the verifier without revealing private information, okay, thanks to this cryptographic technology. Then from our point of view, it's very important to maintain in private, not publish in the blockchain personal information, and for this reason we are using the blockchain as a, we can say, as a repository for some pieces of data, but not personal data. Then thanks to that we can achieve the privacy and the identity using the blockchain altogether.
Well, we are, again, a bit different. I mean, people are pretty skeptical over keeping these biometric data or WorldCoin. And I feel like there should be more sophisticated ways to prove somebody's authenticity in Web3, because people just don't choose to reveal their real life information or have it kept by somebody they don't trust. So we just do so many different, we give so many different options to the user, and they get to choose which experience they want to validate, and that's the type of authenticity we provide, which is very different than most of the protocols. But we're also kind of a game. Like, we didn't start this off as being an on-chain identity protocol, but eventually, because we can prove somebody's authenticity, we can tell if that person has done so many trades on Uniswap, holds NFTs. It's kind of like maybe verifiable credentials, but there's more options, let's say, and more detail. So yeah, and actually we had one funny example I wanted to tell about the subject. So even we provide a way to prove authenticity without having the user to expose their real life selves. People still sometimes don't want to expose even their wallets. Like Bankless David Hoffman, he's one of our angels, and he loves Phi. Like, he loves doing the quest. And he actually didn't want to reveal his main wallet to get all the cool XP, because I guess he just wanted to keep it private. So we tried to find different ways to create these ZK stamps, like Sismo, I think, is doing it. Yeah. I think that's a cool example of how people can get away from the privacy stuff using ZK usually. But the people who use ZK, I think they also all have different approaches to this. But I think Sismo is a pretty cool example with the stamps.
So we have a lot of fantastic people who are already, I can use the word degen. So we're in a room full of degens, which is wonderful to see you all. We would love to bring 1 billion people on chain. And so my question would be, how can we build on-chain identity systems for those who are less tech savvy? Maybe if you guys, since you've thought a lot about this topic and problem, help us to see what are some requests for things built, what are some gaps, help paint the picture to that prospective builder out there who can potentially team up or build on top of you guys to make this better for people out there who aren't on chain.
You want to go first?
Me? Sure. So first of all, yeah, like we should definitely admit some things in our ecosystem. The first thing that like we are talking a lot about account abstraction, for example, and I'm hearing from people that like they are just behaving like the account abstraction is a magic. It will solve all the problems, all the UX issues. We will, like get, like another billions of people to the ecosystem just because of account abstraction, which is not true. So the thing is, like, when I'm working on things, sometimes I'm talking with my parents and I'm trying to explain what I'm doing. I'm having super hard time, like seriously. Like I always have to find some examples from either, I don't know, like from nature or I don't know, from sometimes from some documentaries and things, and just to get things together, the pieces together to just tell them what is it. Like, one example was in my mind basically when we were talking about the the UX problems of or the privacy problems of the blockchain is the immutability. And I was explaining my father, like, the trees, like, there are trees. And when you cut them, there are these rings. And when the tree gets, like bigger and bigger, these rings are getting, like another ring, another ring, another ring. It's a history. So it's a blockchain, basically. So yeah, exactly. Like whenever something happened to that tree, I don't know, like if it didn't get the proper, I don't know, like water, or there was I don't know, some sort of, let's say, a huge thunderstorm or things, and the tree gets, I don't know, like somehow got some remarks and things. So you are able to see them all, like anything. And in the blockchain, it's the same. Like you can just use the blockchain for the things, for the good things, and all history is there. But at the same time, whenever you do a mistake, it's also there. So that's why account abstraction, yes, it definitely is the UX. And there are other things, yes, they are definitely is the UX. But the thing is, there is a huge technical barrier. And I don't know when I will be able to tell my, like parents that, okay, it's ready for you. Now you can understand easily. You don't have to worry about it. So I think we are not there, and it will take time.
So what I want to build is, imagine like an app that just looks like you can send and receive USDC, and basically that's the whole functionality. How to get these users? We're launching Sunscreen Discord bot, where essentially you are just verifying yourself to get giveaways and servers. Like our client, ideal client would be like Mr. Beast Discord server, nothing crypto related. People just get verified to get access to raffles, take part in different events, because one user, one account. There are not really many solutions to do that currently. And we just open an account abstracted wallet with a crypto capability, for example, on Safe SDK. And all of those people have wallets in the background, just like all Redditors have crypto wallets, just like most people on Telegram will have. So the only way to do this, in my eyes, is something we'll try to build. We're currently launching the bot this month. Is just to abstract it away, like literally. So they don't even have to know that they're using crypto. The only thing they need to know is that they're responsible for their data, which is the same learning curve, I guess, like learning how to turn on and off the computer, right? So this is something somebody has to learn. It's not like going to be the same.
Well, yes, as elder technologies, it's a journey. I think that we are at the beginning of the journey. We are talking about blockchain. Here it's a blockchain event. But yes, blockchain can be used for everyone, but it's not for everyone. Then I agree, I totally agree. It's necessary to use the technology in a transparent way. It means that when I need to use this technology, I can use as easier as possible without thinking about wallets, thinking about privacy, thinking about crypto, zero knowledge, and so on. Then in this moment, it will be the moment, the mature moment, yeah.
Well, for wider adoption, I mean, there are some key points everybody knows, like UX. Everybody is like, UX will create the wider adoption. I don't think that's the only thing. Also, immutability, I think, is a huge problem. Like some people used to say that it was a good thing, but now I disagree. It just creates a lot of barriers and makes the whole process very clunky. It's not futuristic that you cannot change things or delete things. I think it creates some scalability issues too, but I'm not that technical to say more about that. But one, I think for wider adoption, solving real life problems is an important thing. I don't think my grandmother will ever use a on-chain identity, just like when credit cards first came to be. Some people probably still use checks, like some old people never got used to it. So the new generation will use it. And what kind of real life problems will this solve? I saw a very good example this year. I live in Turkey, and maybe some of you know, there was like a huge earthquake that happened at the beginning of this year. And there's also lots of immigrants in Turkey. There's a whole chaos of people. And I met this guy who was helping the earthquake zone. And he was actually giving healthcare to women and children and pregnant women who were immigrants. So it's like a sensitive subject. And he was actually backed by the United Nations. So the help he gives cannot be stopped by the Turkish government. Like, he was legit. And he said he wanted to create this system where he gives people some sort of ID, like a system, and that way he could provide these immigrants healthcare, even send them money through this system in a different country where he doesn't have any regulations, nothing. And he said that, like, this immigrant thing is a problem and it could happen to any of us one day. And if on-chain technologies solve this kind of problems that can go around the regulations and the law, the legal stuff, and also help people on a large scale, it will create adoption.
Yeah, glad you bring that up. Where I wanted to go next is, what are going to be some fantastic new primitives by having on-chain identity? Of course, we want to work on UX. Of course, we want to allow more people to come on-chain. But if there are reasons for people to maybe figure out how to get on-chain because there's a really compelling use case or a great reason to do so, tell the audience. I'd love to hear more of these really inspiring use cases. If anyone else has some. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess one of the use cases is exactly giving identity and access to payments to people who are digitally excluded or otherwise don't have a bank account. So most people in the world right now have a smartphone, but they don't necessarily know how to operate crypto, especially. So kind of a digital identity, they often don't even have any verifiable documents. And we are not really that late in the digital identity sector. We are in Italy right now, and I'm not sure if it's still valid, but recently there was still an identity document which was valid here in this country, was basically a printed A4 page. So even in a country as advanced as Italy, we just broken the digital barrier. There is no digital ID that's one-to-one accepted in Italy yet, even. Biggest country in Europe is Poland, where I'm based, but this is also a new development and is just launched this year. So in countries in Africa, for example, it's a completely different story, where these documents there are easily faked still. So where you have some kind of a biometric or other way to formalize your identity, like sometimes it's more about, so it's about two things. One, making this secure, and second is just making this accurate, because a lot of the on-chain systems are very focused on on-chain attestations, for example, per se, and they say, oh, now it's on the blockchain, so I can attest something about myself, but who is the source of truth in that case? It's just me, or just anyone else. Well, for some companies, they might be a trusted entity, but the problem of trust is not solved by blockchain, or any other technology for that matter. It can only be solved in combination with something else, because in the end, you still have to trust someone and their opinion or a system. It's different to payments, because payments are very binary. Identity is not binary because we change, and even our biometrics could change. So even your facial biometrics could change. In the worst case, let's say, when you have assets built on your face. And would that be good enough to secure you out of your funds, so to speak, if you have facial biometric verification? There's a lot of problems, but I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to trust. Who you trust, how much, and why.
I've also seen this on the news like last week or something, that people were finding ways to use AI to manipulate the facial recognition, which is, I think, pretty crazy. Yeah, so like facial recognition maybe will not be such a good solution in the long run. I don't know. I feel kind of far away from it. I want to hide my face. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if nobody has any other use cases, so I will just say the obvious ones. Of course, the first one is voting in the perfect world, I would say. So if we would be able to vote for the things for our for our nation, for our government, for our world easily and more transparent, that will be awesome. So if we have the identity, like on-chain identity for everyone, and everyone has a saying for the things, and getting an immediate answers to the questions, that will be awesome. And another thing is, of course, the most of the problems are actually coming from because we have different status applies different rules, and then you need to have some sort of pool of this information to be able to manage in between, sync in between. And one of them is, for example, visas. So especially the non-EU members know this pretty well. When they come to EU, we are having huge problem coming into the EU area, the waiting out of lines, and then they have to check our things, and there is no proper standard for each country. And it will be awesome to have one source of truth, so we don't have to worry about when we go somewhere, how how we will be welcomed or not, or how long we should wait there or not, this kind of things.
All right. So one of the really interesting features of blockchain is immutability, but that poses some, let's say, more controversial topics on the other side of that. So what are the ethical considerations around on-chain identity?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, you were on the last time, so if you want to add something on this?
I think that we talk about that too, but the privacy is important. When we are saying that we are publishing some information in the blockchain, you can publish some kind of information, but another kind of information, for example, your personal information, it can be a risk for you. Okay, and maybe you cannot imagine, but suddenly you became as a refugee in your own country because it happens, or you became a minor ethnical group followed by your government. Then I think that privacy is one of the most important things for one of the use of this identity management. No?
I will call 3 dilemma in this topic for the immutability. So the first one is the immutability itself, and right to remove your own data. So this is too controversial thing, especially when it comes to blockchain. So first thing, we should find a solution for that. And the second thing is consent. Because in the Web2 world, we have legal frameworks and the rules and the things. If we want our information to be processed by the third parties or not, for example, GDPR is one of it. We are basically able to say that okay, I don't want my data to be processed in this and that. Please remove it. But in the blockchain world, I haven't heard anything around this. I don't know, maybe there are someone working on that.
Okay, around what?
For the consent.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is another thing. And the third dilemma is, we already talked about it, but just let's mention it again. So the accessibility and how easy to, make an adaptation for the non-tech savvy people. So these are the ethical considerations probably regarding immutability.
Well, immutability and right to be forgotten is one thing. And also, what was the last thing? The accessibility. I've actually seen one good example. It's not an identity protocol, but a wallet that won a hackathon a few months ago. It's actually a account abstraction wallet that you can that turns your phone into a hardware wallet, so you can send transactions and confirm your identity with your Face ID or your fingerprint using Apple Enclave, which I think is like a project that could influence mass adoption from all the people using iPhones. But it still raises questions about the data privacy. Like, I'm not sure how Apple Enclave works. I only know Web3, but I think it's still a problem. But I think the solution they came up with was pretty interesting. And I would like to see some on-chain identity protocols using account abstraction in a similar way to solve this issue, maybe.
That's actually very interesting. I didn't know about this use case. So there's one problem with this solution. While I'll probably also spend like some hours later thinking about it more.
Let me know.
The obvious one is like with this solution, so it's actually safe. Face ID is safe and your fingerprint is safe. They're only theoretically...
But Apple holds it still, no? Like
theoretically, it's only on the device. So I cannot say for sure, but like in theory, the face never leaves the device. The same with the fingerprint. So if we trust that, and you know, we had Twitter files recently and everything, you'll never know, but let's say that's how it works. So in that case, you can attest that you are the same person and that you're a live human being in terms of Face ID or fingerprint. But if you lose the device, there is no way to know if it's you again. So that's also posing a problem. But you know, like a combination of this with some other data points could, you know, lead us somewhere, right? So it could be a factor.
Okay, so you guys are obviously closest to this topic, to this problem. And if you were sitting there before you started working on this quest, what insights, learnings, things to avoid would you tell yourself there?
Well, I guess I would have still done the same things, but I kind of learned the hard way how big the private DeFi market is for digital identity. It's currently very small. So maybe I would have jumped to more like realistic use cases more quickly, but then again, I wouldn't have learned as much as I did. So I you know, enjoyed the journey, so to speak.
Yeah, for me the same, but probably I would have more designer friends.
I would say, on top of that, yeah, about the awareness of the privacy of our data. And yes, the awareness of this kind of, what kind of data are we sharing today, currently, and how we can improve that.
I would say just try to help people and don't conspire on their data. From an ethic, yeah, and I agree with all of you.
You guys touch on a subject or something that I think about Henry Ford saying, if you ask people at the time, what do you want, they would say faster horses. So it is somewhat our responsibility to guide the user, to guide future customers on better user experience or better architecture. So unfortunately, it's a little heartbreaking for me when I speak with friends who aren't in tech and they don't really care about privacy. It isn't the main thing they care about. But maybe we have a responsibility. So how have you guys thought about how we design that into the products that we're all building here?
I will ask a little bit more clarification on this.
Yeah, so I guess one, is it a responsibility of ours to think about some of the issues we brought up today as builders here for ideally the next billion users? And then secondly, if there are specific examples of how you've personally thought about it or things we need to build.
So I'm thinking that it's depend on the use case, possibly. That's why it's a little bit hard to answer to this question under like one generalized umbrella. So yeah.
I guess, for so I set up payment networks also for banks. And, I don't know if you know, but if you have like a SEPA transfer in Europe, the money in your account, I mean, it's safer to transfer it to some other account because for 30 days, since it lands in your account, somebody can revoke the transaction and it will go back to the first bank where it came from. So I don't know if you know about this, but virtually every transaction you get is not your money for 30 days. And for other reasons, they can also be frozen funds, etc., but that everybody knows. So for blockchain, we will need the same kind of not only anti-money laundering rules, but also payment rules to limit fraud, really. This is the main reason for this. But I cannot possibly imagine a CBDC system running on a public blockchain because it's just, I mean, I know my friend's address and I check all of their transactions, right? Like this is, it's not going to work in the real world, but a private EVM network, a layer 2, this could completely work, or maybe, I don't think Ethereum is planning to become private, but yeah, and a layer 2 could totally do this. And it's our utmost need to be private because otherwise not only is illegal, for Europe actually has very good privacy laws. I mean, very good is a debatable statement, but very strong privacy rules. And they're also opposing privacy rules because you have GDPR and you also have AML rules where in case of our sanctions check, we are literally obliged to store the data for, depending on jurisdictions, for example, 5 years. And we can prove it to the American regulator. We're registered in the US. And we have an on-chain sanctions attestation, which was the original idea we built to prevent Tornado Cash and to allow private mixing. So you can mix funds without running the risk of mixing them with sanctioned individuals. But if everybody in the world interested in that solution used our product, we'd probably make 300,000. Like even if we cover the whole market when we want to raise much more from VCs right now. So we built it, it works, but like the regulation is not there yet. And we care about privacy. And of course, we would like to have it 100% decentralized with some DAO governing it. But then, like, there is some back office work currently that would possibly be done by an AI. And people are worried about centralization. But imagine like a decentralized AI governance protocol going rogue. Could also happen on the other end of the spectrum of decentralization.
AI doing what?
Like if you have AI back office for on-chain attestation of sanctions, which is theoretically possible, governed by a DAO, well, you're fully trusting in a system that is a black box, essentially. But it is the most decentralized way to do this currently. It's technically possible, but it's really weird. Yeah.
I think AI, like observing what type of new problems AI creates for us is a good observation area. And just like, I feel like it's a catalyzer in leading us in the right direction sometimes. Like people see it as a bad thing that AI is breaking all of these things we created, but maybe they need to be broken. Like just like even with the education system, like it's just maybe putting, moving us to a higher level of, yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you brought
Just
up
use
AI.
AI and ZK. It's like
Well, AI is a nice segue into civil resistance. And so I'd be curious for those who want to speak to this, how your tool, your company, is trying to solve that for companies, et cetera.
Well, we built a one user, one vote solution for on base of facial biometrics. It's live. Check our website. Please.
Yes, as I mentioned before, we built the tool set, and thanks to our tool set and other kind of technologies, with this combination, you can achieve this kind of civil resistance proofs through verifiable credentials and other technologies. Yeah.
with Phi, like it's almost impossible to simplify, in my opinion. I think we're pretty strong in that sense. I think we're also like one of the best Gitcoin stamps. We recently became a stamp. It's because there's too many quests, too many options. Like we track people transaction by transaction, which protocol, which, and like all of these things, which took a lot of effort. I don't think other people should do the same because like it's too much effort for everyone to create such a protocol, I think. Like we created this for fun in the first place, but ended up with some advantages like being able to prevent Sybil attacks. I actually tried to Sybil my own project and it was impossible almost, I can say.
All right. So what are some of the cool things that you could do with on-chain identity? I mean, one specific example is I attended mainnet. I just sent my ENS to get reimbursed. Like that was a breeze. You know, that's nice. But I mean, I'm sure there's some really cool shit down the line. So enlighten the audience here.
Show off, like a DGen score. I don't know if anybody has a DGen score beacon. Do you have a beacon? See, I would be super jealous if you had a beacon because I don't have one yet. I'm 200 points short. And I just FOMO about that stuff, I guess, because I want to be a DGen or I don't know.
Well, there is one example here. So if you ever been in any of the events that we produce the ENS cards, so these are like physical identity cards. You can use it as a business card, basically. It's an NFC card. When you tap it to your phone, you can exchange the POPs with the people that you met and exchange your contact. And this is actually just one example of what cool things you can do with it.
Also, we can think about the reputation. If you are a gamer and you have some kind of skills in a game, you can use to create some kind of reputation, to cross the different silos between the different games, the ownership of some assets in a game, and so on. Yeah.
There's also one cool thing. Like I play a lot of games, and gathering all this data or letting people create these stamps, complete these quests, say, oh, I'm a Uniswap user, I use this protocol a lot. We could find ways to augment these qualities to other on-chain, let's say, games. Like, let's say I'm playing an online game and I'm actually a coder and I deploy contracts, and I completed this quest on Fi saying I deployed 20 contracts on-chain, and I could maybe provide you this badge that gives you extra engineering experience in a game and proves that you're actually an engineer. Like try to reflect my skills to other protocols I use on-chain. I would want to do this. It's an idea. Don't steal it. I'm kidding.
All right, now I think we'll take some questions from the audience, so I'll pass around the mic if anyone has any. All right, that's easy.
Thank you. Hello. First of all, it was amazing, so thanks to each of you for the presentations. I'm actually a full-time on-chain ID, more like a Web3 ID trader, such as ENS obviously, and like Space ID and some other protocols. And my question is, there's, I think, a general misconception in the community that ENS or like Space IDs are going to be like websites in Web 2, let's say. For example, Amazon.com, Amazon.eth. But like, I don't think that's going to be the case because Web 3 won't have like websites like that, but more like usernames and stuff. So let's say in 5 years, when or like if ENS names and like NFTs are mainstream, of course, I don't think that's going to happen for NFTs, but like, if it's mainstream, where do you see Space IDs in 5-6 years? Like, what could be the use case?
decentralized websites already available there. Even Vitalik has the vitalik.eth.limo. Like the limo is one of the gateway that retrieves this information for you because the traditional browser doesn't have the option, basically. But if it goes mainstream, this can be a possibility at any point. So we never know.
So, like, again, Phi is actually built on ENS. So the first time I saw the project, it said, okay, everybody who has a domain can create a website in Web 2. So we want to do this as, like, everybody who has an ENS domain can create a little piece of land that reflects their on-chain identity, and we don't actually use it as a naming system or a wallet resolution for the users, but we're using it as an address system. And especially, we're one of the first protocols that utilize subdomains that ENS created. So you can create a bunch of lands with your subdomains and be like, this street.geeny.eth, land a.geeny.bit, start naming all the streets and create an actual relation and an address system in the metaverse.
Any other questions?
Hey, thank you to you all. So one question that I have is that a lot of like onboarding like companies who try to onboard Web 2 users to Web 3 have this problem of like identity, and they don't want to be like civil attacked. So and there's the problem of new users to Web 3 creating an identity is usually a bit hard. For example, like how do your projects like represent like new users to Web 3? How noob friendly are your solutions?
Maybe I can go for that too. Sorry. So the one thing that we actually try to solve in ENS, or not only try but doing actual things, is we are creating the gasless version of all the functionalities ENS has. And the one of thing is basically the getting a subname without paying any gas fee. And one example is Coinbase. If you use the Coinbase wallet, Coinbase offers you have a handle. And this handle is actually a subname of ENS. And they are using their own traditional DNS name, cb.id, and they imported this name as an ENS name. And based on that DNS, imported ENS name, they are issuing you sub names, and these are wallet ENS names. So you are able to use it to transfer any assets, basically. And another big thing is coming is basically the gasless DNSSEC, which is you will be able to use your traditional domain as an ENS name without any payment. So you don't have to register your DNS name on top of ENS or import your DNS name to an ENS. I mean, you will, but you won't pay gas, basically. So it will be for free. So it means that like adding another 5 billion active domains on top of ENS.
Thank you. Any others?
Yeah, we don't face directly this problem because we are in the infrastructure level. Then we are helping different projects, and we are listening them in which way they are facing these problems with the users. But in this infrastructure layer, we are Polygon, and the scalability is one of our strong points. Then, in this case, when the project explain us, okay, we are facing this problem with our users, with your toolset and so on, we try to answer, of course, to adapt the onboarding or more users. Yeah. Thank you.